Cyclone MMA. What's going on, everybody? My name is Mason from Cyclone MMA, and welcome back to another video. Alexander Volkanovski versus Max Holloway 3 is going down. You know where I'm at. The best is blessed all day, baby. But Max Holloway is 0-2 in these fights against Alexander Volkanovski, despite whether you think he won that second fight or not. On paper, he's lost 2 in a row. So we're going to talk about the first 2 fights. We're going to talk about the third fight. And then we're going to see what's to come for these 2 featherweight GOATs, because they are both in the GOAT conversation at this point. And this is a very important fight to determine who the GOAT potentially could be. So we're going to start off with their first fight. Now, Alexander Volkanovski won this on all 3 judges' scorecards. 2 of them gave it 48-47 for Volkanovski. And then Junichiro Kamijo, fuck that name up, gave Alexander Volkanovski all 5 rounds. And you know what? It's okay, because it doesn't change the scoring. And sometimes I like to drink alcohol as well. But you got to wait till after the judging to do this. I always drink my alcohol and, smoke a little after I'm done judging the UFC fights. I don't do it during. But that's okay. So Volkanovski wins the first fight. If you look at the strike numbers, it makes sense. Not that determines who wins a fight. But Volkanovski, outstruck Max Holloway 157 shots to 134. He landed at a higher rate, 51% to 44%. He wasn't able to land any takedowns. There was a little bit of grappling. He had 45 seconds of control time. Really nothing happened in the grappling department. This was a striking battle, and one that Volkanovski won, which is surprising because Max Holloway's kind of the best boxer in the UFC, baby. Sorry, a little cringe when I said it like that. But, so let's fast forward to the second fight now, right? Now, this was a split decision. All of the judges had it 48-47. Mark Collett and Clemens Warner had it for Volkanovski. David Letheby had it for Max Holloway. If you look at the media scorecards, a lot of people had it for Holloway, but there were some people that had it for Volkanovski. So this was a razor-close fight. This decision I disagree with, but there is some justification there. I mean, Max Holloway easily won the first 2 rounds, 100%, and both of the judges who had Volkanovski winning gave those 2 rounds to Max Holloway. The third round was a close one, and they went ahead and gave it to Volkanovski. So this is where it's interesting. These guys are fighting for a third time, and you look at the betting odds. Alexander Volkanovski's a -190 favorite. Max Holloway's a +155 favorite. I think these are good betting odds. They're very, very close. Has the champion, who's 2-0 in this rivalry, up as the favorite. But what do we take from this? Since their last fight, Volkanovski has 2 wins under his belt. He has an absolute war against Brian Ortega, where he pieced him up for the most part, but still almost got submitted a couple times. It was a nice back-and-forth fight. Then he has a complete masterclass against the Korean Zombie, where it went into the 4th round, and he got a TKO finish. Then you have Max Holloway, who had one of the best performances I've ever seen against Calvin Kattar. Completely outclassed him for 5 rounds. The fight probably should have been stopped. And we know how damn tough Kattar is. We know how good he is at striking. And the fact that Holloway was just able to go in there and do this was pretty crazy. Then he had a fight against Yair Rodriguez. Said that like Chael Sonnen. Yair Rodriguez is his name. And this was a dog fight. This was a war. This saw Max Holloway going for takedowns. Wrestler Max Holloway? Weird.
Oh, you're a wrestler now.
So, kind of similar, they both had the masterclass and they both had the dog fight. Who looked better in these fights? I don't know. I personally, it's hard to say who had the better competition, because they were both very good. I think Korean Zombie's the lesser of them, but Brian Ortega's damn good. It's interesting, and the MMA math doesn't work out, because if you look at the Max Holloway-Brian Ortega fight, Max Holloway wiped the floor with Ortega, while Volkanovski kind of had his hands full. But that just doesn't really work out. MMA math doesn't work. So, who has the edge in this third fight? I personally think Volkanovski does. Max Holloway is the one who has to make the adjustments. And I'm saying that even as a Max Holloway fan, and even as someone who thinks that Max Holloway won that second fight, Volkanovski has more ways to win, I think. I think he can get it to the ground. He can wrestle. He's shown that he's able to land takedowns. He landed 3 of 9 in their second fight. But is Max Holloway going to implement any sort of wrestling into his fight game plan because he did that against Yair, but Yair isn't experienced on the ground. This is a tough fight to predict what's going to happen, and I really don't know where to go with this. I think it could be a really close fight. It's just tough because Max Holloway is a volume striker, and he puts a pace on guys that they can't handle, but Volkanovski is a guy that takes your weapons and shuts it down, and he's someone who will be there for all 5 rounds. All I know is this is going to be a super exciting fight. I think you have to lean and think that Volkanovski is the favorite to win it. I'm crossing my fingers and pushing for my boy Max Holloway, but this is an interesting fight nonetheless, and one that has major implications in this division. Because what's going to happen? If Volkanovski wins, we know what's going to happen. Max Holloway basically has to fight a bunch of people until either he proves that he's ready for a title shot again, or Volkanovski slips up, loses his belt, and then Max Holloway can fight that person if Volkanovski doesn't get an immediate rematch. If Max loses this, he's in a tough spot because he's going to keep getting fights. He's going to be consistent, and I think he can beat a lot of these 145ers, but it's going to be hard to fight for that belt again, especially with Volkanovski as champion. Now, if Volkanovski wins, that creates another interesting situation because do you do another rematch and have the 4th fight? Volkanovski probably deserves it. He's 2-0 on paper against Max Holloway, so if he's 2-1, you got to do that extra fight probably. If not, does he have to go and get a few wins or 1 win and come back and fight Max Holloway? I don't know. It's really interesting, and it sets up just this whole new direction for this featherweight division. Like, who's next? Is it going to be someone like Josh Emmett, who just had a victory, or is it going to be the winner of Brian Ortega and Yair Rodriguez? This video is incredibly unfocused, and I'm just basically talking about the state of Holloway and Volkanovski in this featherweight division, but it's really fun because we're in a spot right now. The division's looking great. This featherweight division is super stacked, and when you have 2 titans like Max Holloway and Volkanovski on top of it, it just makes it super exciting. But we're in a weird spot, and I'm really interested to see what happens Saturday so we can clear up this whole mess or make it way more complicated. Who knows? All I know is I'm going to be rooting for Max Holloway this Saturday. Let me know who you'll be rooting for in the comment section below. Just because you're a Volkanovski fan or someone from New Zealand, you're welcome to still click like on this video and subscribe if you haven't already. I talk about MMA all over this YouTube channel, and if you're into that kind of thing, this is the channel for you. So there it is, guys. Max Holloway versus Volkanovski. A very unfocused random video of me just blabbering and talking about it because it excites me, and it should excite you too because cool shit's going down this Saturday. Peace out, guys. Have a good one. Buy some t-shirts, merch. Bye. Amanda Nunes versus Megan Anderson.
Amanda. Duh.
Next, we got Artem Lobov. We're going to stick him right up at S tier. Just kidding.